Hello! I just got back into town, so we're a little behind schedule, so we're going to do the May wrap up and the June reading plans in one video. Let's start off by talking about some statistics. It was a record month for the channel. In May, we gained 246 subscribers, which is a new record. The first 3 days of the month, I remember opening up YouTube Studio and seeing that I gained 200 subscribers and wondering why. And then I realized that one of my fans from my day job posted about my booktube channel on Reddit, and it got a lot of traction, and a lot of people came and visited the channel, and we took part in great conversations, and they've stuck around. A lot of them have stuck around, and that is awesome. So 246 more people to talk about books with. That makes me happy. The other record we broke for the channel was watch hours. 124.4 watch hours in 1 month. That's even better than March. April was really bad because I had got pneumonia and fell behind schedule, and I was really worried that May I might not be able to recapture that momentum. But thanks to all the new subscribers from that benevolent Reddit user, I had 2 records that were broken in May, and I'm very happy about it. In terms of reading, May was a very strange month. It is the first month in a very long time where I read more nonfiction than I did fiction. I read 3 works of nonfiction, 2 novellas, 1 novel, and 2 volumes of manga. And the 3 works of nonfiction took up the majority of my time. And it stole momentum away from my reading pace because nonfiction, I read it much slower than fiction because I want to make sure I understand it. I bumped into some friends in my day job and they recommended me some books. I felt pressure to read those books quickly so that way we could talk about it. Reading, building connection, all that jazz. So read 3 nonfictions, and it killed my momentum. Couple that with me going to Austin to compete and to coach at the end of the month, and the book count was a little abysmal. Fortunately, despite distractions and despite me losing momentum because of nonfiction, I was still able to upload 10 videos in May, all long form, no shorts, so very happy with my ability to keep up with a schedule. I am switching the days I'm uploading. I tried to upload towards the back half of the week, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, trying to focus on those. But from this point forward, at least for June, I'm going to upload a video on Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. I think that gives me plenty of time to get things done. The first work of nonfiction I read was The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. Yes, Britney Spears, the pop star. I was born in 1995, so I missed most of the Britney mania. I remember being conscious and aware of her breakdown, her shaving her head, her kind of leaving the public eye, going under a very controversial conservatorship, watching her. I only saw her life fall apart. So reading this book, reading about her roots, her background, really helped humanize her to me. If you follow the vlog, I'm always saying that the very rich and the very famous are barely even human. They're completely separate from all of our everyday experiences. But reading about Britney Spears' life, that's relatable. Lots of things from her upbringing that I can relate to. Lots of things that her family experienced that she dealt with, I could relate to. So just because you're famous does not mean your life is any less a life. I know maybe I shouldn't have been something I had to learn, but yeah, this was a pretty eye-opening memoir. Maybe a little rushed. Maybe she should have spent less time on the conservatorship. Probably 3.5 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it, but it didn't make me a Britney Spears fan. The second work of nonfiction I read was Winning Through Intimidation by Robert Ringer. I know what it sounds like. It sounds like a book that would teach you how to intimidate others and how to win through intimidation. Sadly, that's not what it was. That's what I was expecting because I was told that this book was very Robert Greene-esque. I love Robert Greene. He wrote 48 Laws of Power, Mastery, those types of books. But what I got instead was a book about how to be a good salesman, particularly how to be a good, mortgage broker. And, the book's about meditations and lessons and rules that he learned from working in that field that he applied to gain success. And most business books, most self-help business-like books, they kind of all say the same thing. If I had never read anything else in the genre, I would say this is one of the better ones. There was one line in particular I really liked. I'm going to paraphrase it. Your success in life is directly correlated with how easy you are to be intimidated. And I like that. That's true for sure. Little nugget of wisdom that I agree with. Probably 3.75, maybe 4 out of 5 stars, but I'm not a fan of this genre. And If you like that type of thing, you may like it. Robert Ringer writes in a very humorous, informative way, and I don't disagree with most of the things that he said. The last work of nonfiction I read was Keep Going. I enjoyed this book a lot. It reminded me a lot of The War of Art, those types of books, books about the creative process, about how to capture inspiration, about how to find your lightning bolts, your sparks of inspiration when you're having trouble obtaining those. It offers 10 different ways or 10 different ways to go about finding inspiration, getting back into your groove, getting out of a rut. And I could relate to that because I read this while I was in Austin, getting ready to compete in a sport that's adjacent to the sport that I usually compete in, but it's not the same thing. And one of the lessons that it teaches you in this book is when you're in a rut, try something that's out of your wheelhouse, and that generally resets you. And I definitely agree with a lot of the things in this book, lots of interesting passages, and I will be reading more from this author in the future. I would give this book 4 out of 5 stars. It's really good, and you could read it in less than 3 hours. So 2 thumbs up. The only novel I read in May was Almond. This tells the story of a young Korean boy, about high school, middle school age, who has underdeveloped amygdala and consequently does not feel emotions. He is very monotone, he is very mechanical, he is very off. He becomes a social pariah and he encounters an individual who has no control over their emotions. They act as spoils for each other, and it's pretty thought-provoking. It hits you in the feels. I do think it would have been better if it wasn't written originally in Korean. Sadly, that's how reality worked out, because sometimes translations don't translate all the emotions and all the sentiments accurately. That being said, I did enjoy this book. It was quite thought-provoking. I liked the climax and falling action. It didn't make me cry, but it definitely made my eyes misty. Probably 3.75, maybe 4 out of 5 stars if it was my type of thing. But this type of fiction, I generally avoid it. I read 2 novellas in May. The first one was The Bride of High Hill. This was the latest installment in the Singing Hills cycle by Nhi Vo. I loved all the prior installments in this series. The series follows a historian monk as they travel through a Southeast Asian inspired setting, collecting stories, collecting the point of views of characters and individuals from historical events that were never told before. And the revelations that are made in all the prior installments of the series are earth-shattering. It changes the entire narrative of history itself. I'm a big history nerd. I've loved this series for the most part. But this installment, the latest installment, was a little bit of a miss for me. It kind of didn't cover the same type of themes, and it was a little bit of a all over the place narrative. It was hard to follow. There was an interesting twist at the end. I will give the author that. But this is the first installment in the series where I don't think I loved it. I just liked it. Definitely just 3 out of 5 stars. But I am hopeful that later installments in this series will be just as good as the prior installments. At least that's what I'm hoping for, because I'm in for the long haul in this series. I've already read too much of it. Hopefully it doesn't go downhill from here. The second novella I read in May, on the other hand, was amazing. A Good Marriage by Stephen King floored me. It tells the story of a woman in her middle-aged years discovering that her husband is a monster. The revelations are earth-shattering as she discovers that her husband has murdered people in the past. And she views her marriage in a very different light, because up until this point, she has always thought that they have had a good marriage. Picket fence, nice house, well-adjusted kids, he's successful in his career, she's a very happy woman. But these revelations turn her world all upside down. It's very thrilling, it's very introspective. The climax and following action were pulled off masterfully. 4.5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I'm a big Stephen King fan, and reading The Good Marriage just reminded me why he's such an amazing author, because I haven't heard too much about this novella, but I do think this novella will become more popular as the years go by because it's great. May of 2024 was the month where I discovered one-shot mangas. One-shot mangas are mangas where the entire story is resolved in one volume. And I love short fiction, so this was a perfect fit for me. I read 2 one-shots from Tatsuki Fujimoto that I loved a lot, Goodbye Eerie and Looking Back. Goodbye Eerie tells the story of a young filmmaker. His mother is terminally ill in the beginning, and she asks him to chronicle and to videotape her final days. He submits this video to a film festival, and it gets ridiculed. He does not pull off the ending quite well because of things that he does, and he's feeling distraught. But he encounters a young woman who loves it, and she tells him, next year you're going to do even better because I'm going to help you. What follows is a story about friendship and life and loss and grief and coming and getting past depression. And then the twist ending, I had no idea that was coming. It was a very mind-blowing ending, very strange, but I've heard a lot of manga endings are strange. And yeah, after I finished Goodbye Eri, I picked up Looking Back from the same author, and I love this one. Looking Back tells the story of two up-and-coming manga artists. It's a story about rivalry and friendship, about love and loss, and about what would have beens. And this one hit me in the feels. I did not cry, but my tears almost came. The ending was pulled off masterfully. Great falling action. I loved the characters, and I finished this in less than an hour, and it gave me the full spectrum of emotions. So definitely my favorite manga of the month was Looking Back. I'm sure it's pretty clear what my book of the month is. A Good Marriage by Stephen King. Just a great novella. You should give it a try. Before we get into the plans for June, let's talk about the carryovers from the month of May. I am currently reading Guards, Thunderhead, and Malice. Essentially my TBR for the month of May, because I always procrastinate finishing books on my TBR. I'm more than halfway done with all these books. They will most assuredly be completed in the month of June, particularly Guards, and Thunderhead will definitely be finished before June is up. But yeah, I'm going to take a break from TBRs in June. For the most part, my goals for June are just to get out of the reading rut that reading all that nonfiction put me in. So I'm only going to be focusing on reading 2 other works that aren't from my previous month's TBR. And those works are The Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan. This is a big old boy. I plan on nibbling on this book throughout the entirety of June. I'm happy to be back into the world of the Wheel of Time because I want to finish my journey before the end of next year. I'm super stoked to be tackling The Fires of Heaven. And one manga series, Fire Punch by Tatsuki Fujimoto. He's best known for his Chainsaw Man manga, but that's not complete, and I'm not sure I'm ready to tackle a manga series that isn't complete because I hate tackling unfinished series, but Fire Punch, I've heard good things, and it's only 8 volumes. The other goal for June that I have that I think will help take me out of a reading rut, my goal is every day of the month, I want to read at least a chapter of Stephen King and a chapter of Terry Pratchett. Doesn't matter what work of fiction it is from those authors. They're amongst my 2 favorite authors, and their works always take me out of a funk. So I think by nibbling on those authors throughout the month, it'll really help up my reading mood. Before I close, I'm going to show you guys my rough draft for the schedule for June. The plan is to upload vlogs on Monday, do videos on Thursday and Saturday, and we have a book haul video planned because I plan on going for a big old book shopping spree. Hopefully that is fruitful. And we got some series reviews, some manga reviews, some shorts that we're going to figure out along the way, and then some other videos that I'm going to have to play with. But I think showing you guys the schedule will help keep me accountable. So yes, May was a good month. I'm glad it is in the rearview mirror, but June is going to be an even better month, and I look forward to reading through it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.